This is how you install BRAUM seats on a Skyline R32. This is how they come, nicely covered up and packaged very well. And this is them outside of the packaging. When you receive the seats, they do come with all hardware, everything needed to install. As you can see here, I have it laid out, and as well the seat brackets. When receiving these, the hardware is included. BRAUM actually has them screwed already pre-in to the bottom of the seats. So what you're going to want to do is remove all 4 of the bolts to start this process. To start off with the installation, you're going to want to go ahead and flip the seat over. Once you removed all 4 bolts, you're going to want to get one of the seat rails that comes with the kit. To put the seat rail on properly, you're going to want to make sure that the slider here, if you guys can see, there's an end point here. You're going to want to have this part facing towards the back of the seat. The long part with the spring, you're going to want to make sure it goes towards the front. To install the bolts, what you're going to want to do is slightly apply pressure to the clip here and push downward. Be careful not to hurt your hands. Once you've slid it down, you're going to want to use the first hole here and line it up. Insert the bolt and tighten it down. Do not tie in all the way, just enough to hold for placement. Now that the bolt is in, push down on the clip again and slightly push upward. Now that the slider is completely all the way up, you're going to want to make sure that this hole aligns here with the bottom one. Now that this is done, you're going to want to make sure you tighten these down all the way. Now that this side is tightened down, you're going to want to take the other railing now and apply it the same way. Now that both of the rails are installed and secure, we're going to be installing the seat lever for adjusting. All you're going to have to do is basically first make sure that the part that bends upward is facing down towards the seat. And then you just basically, where the holes are for this, install on one side, insert, and then it's going to take some force, but you want to pry in, and there it is. And to check that this is working properly, you're going to want to push down all the way and slide the seat rails with your hands manually like that. Now that this is done and assembled, up next is going to be actually installing the seat bracket itself. What you're going to want to make sure is that these parts where they bend are facing downward towards the front of the seat, and the flat part surfaces are towards the back of the seat. Also, an important part is where this bracket here is. So this here is a mounting point for the seat belt. You're going to want to make sure that that goes on the side wherever the seat belt is for the driver or passenger side. What you're going to want to do to install the bracket though is actually push down on this and pull the slider all the way up. And what we want to do is take your hardware here and install them. So you're going to take the Allen bolt here and run it through the back, take the washer and run it on top. So you're going to basically put it on like so, with the washer first and then the bolt on top. Just like that. Don't tighten them up all the way yet because you still need to adjust these a bit when you're putting the other bolts for placement. So now that these two are installed up top, they're not tightened down all the way, just enough to hold for placement. What you want to do is push down and slide them all the way down. Now that it's completely down, what you're going to want to do is take your hardware and the same thing, just like we did here, install it from behind and bolt them back in. And there you go. Seat 1 is now complete. This is how you install all of this. So this here is going to be the same process as the other seat, whether it's passenger or driver, whichever you're doing first. So the way this process went is the exact same process as the other one. To start off for removing the seat, we're going to start off with the driver's side. All you're going to do is slide the seat back, exposing the front bolts. Now that we slid the seat all the way back, you can see the 2 front bolts here are exposed. To remove these 2 front bolts, it is going to be a 14mm for these. Now that both of the bolts are removed, you're going to want to go ahead and slide the seat forward. Now that the seat is completely slid forward, what you're going to want to do is remove these plastic clips here, covering the bolts location. They're both the same size as the front, 14mm to remove them. Now both of the bolts are removed. Right under the seat, you're going to want to locate this clip here, which is connected to the seat. Go ahead and unclip that, and that is the last piece for removing the seat. Now that the seat is removed, you're going to want to lay it on the side and remove the seat belt buckle itself. This here is the same as the other bolts for the seat, which is a 14mm. Now up next, to install the seat belt, I actually had to run to a hardware store to pick this up. Here is the parts that I got. The OEM seat belt is actually just a direct screw in. There's no bolt behind it to hold it in place, but on the BRAUM seat brackets here, you can't directly screw it in. That is the reason why we picked these up. We're just gonna go ahead and insert them like that with the bolt and the seatbelt on there and tighten it down. So now we put the bolt through, just go ahead and place the seatbelt on top like that. Take your bolt, tighten it down, and it's installed. So that's how you do that. And now let's go ahead and insert the seat into the car. Now the seat is installed back. What you're gonna wanna do is make sure that here you line that up first when you put the seat in, so that way everything else aligns perfectly. Once you have it all in, go ahead and start putting the back bolts in first, and we should be good to go. Now both of the bolts are installed and tightened down. Up next, you're going to want to get the clip and reinstall under the seat. After you finish that, you're going to want to go ahead and slide the seat all the way back and install the 2 front bolts. And now both bolts are in and the seat is complete and installed. Now that this is complete, do the same process to the other side with all 4 bolts removing and put the seat in. And here's the final look with the passenger seat installed. And that is how you install BRAUM seats on a Skyline. Thanks for watching.